Hate is a powerful emotion that can lead to devastating consequences. But what drives a person to hate another person or group? The psychological sources of hate are complex and multifaceted, but some key factors include socialization, cognitive biases, and personality traits. Understanding these underlying sources can help us to better understand and address hate in our society. Let's dive into the depths of psychology to explore the different factors that contribute to the development of hate. Number 1. Socialization. Socialization, or the process by which people learn the norms and values of their society, is one potential source of hate. People may learn to hate certain groups or individuals through their upbringing or exposure to certain belief systems. For example, if someone grows up in a family or community that holds prejudiced views against a certain group, they may internalize those views and develop hate towards that group. Additionally, exposure to hate speech, discriminatory laws and policies, and negative stereotypes in the media can also contribute to hate arising from socialization. Children and teenagers are particularly vulnerable to the influence of these factors, and may be more likely to adopt prejudiced attitudes and behaviors as a result. It's worth noting that socialization is a complex process and the reasons behind hate may vary from person to person. People can also learn to unlearn hate and change their prejudices through different methods like education and exposure to different perspectives. Number 2. Frustration and anger. Frustration and anger are another potential source of hate. When people feel that they have been treated unjustly or have been denied something that they believe is rightfully theirs, they may direct feelings of anger and frustration towards a certain group or individual. This can manifest as hate. For example, if someone loses their job to an individual from a different racial or ethnic group, they may blame that group for their situation and develop feelings of hate towards them. Similarly, if someone feels that they are being denied equal opportunities or treatment, they may direct feelings of anger and frustration towards the group or individuals they believe are responsible. It's worth noting that frustration and anger can be a normal and healthy response to certain situations, but when directed towards a specific group or individual and is not based on fact or reason, it can lead to hate. Furthermore, hate can also be driven by a sense of powerlessness, where people might feel that they have no control over their situation, and they might direct their anger and frustration to a group they perceive as the cause of their problem. Number 3. In-group bias. In-group bias is another potential source of hate. People may hate those outside of their own group as a way to strengthen their own group identity. People tend to have a sense of belonging and identification with a certain group, whether it's based on race, ethnicity, religion, nationality, or other factors. They may see their group as superior and may develop a bias towards other groups. This bias can manifest in different ways, including discrimination, hostility, and even violence towards outgroups. It is a way to justify the negative treatment of outgroup members, as they are perceived as a threat or a rival to the in-group. It's worth noting that in-group bias is a cognitive bias that is common among humans, as it is a way for people to feel safe, secure, and understood by their group. However, it can also lead to harmful and unjust treatment of others, leading to hate and discrimination. Therefore, it's important to recognize and challenge in-group bias when it arises and strive for empathy and understanding towards all groups. Number 4. Fear. Fear is another potential source of hate. People may hate those who they perceive as different or unfamiliar out of fear of the unknown. Fear can manifest in different ways, including feelings of insecurity, vulnerability, and anxiety. It can also be driven by a fear of losing status, power, or resources. For example, if people perceive immigrants as a threat to their job security or standard of living, they may develop feelings of hate towards them. Similarly, if someone fears that their religious or cultural identity is being threatened, they may develop feelings of hate towards those who are perceived as different. It's worth noting that fear is a natural human emotion, but it can also be irrational or based on misinformation. When fear leads to hate, it can result in harmful and unjust treatment of others. Therefore, it's important to recognize and challenge fear-based hate and strive for empathy and understanding towards all groups. Number 5. Psychological projection. Psychological projection is another potential source of hate. Psychological projection is a defense mechanism where a person projects their own negative feelings, or attributes onto a certain group or individual. This can manifest as hate towards that group or individual. For example, if someone has feelings of inadequacy or guilt, they may project those feelings onto a certain group or individual and blame them for their own shortcomings. Similarly, if someone is struggling with their own biases or prejudices, they may project those feelings onto a certain group or individual and blame them for their own discriminatory attitudes. It's worth noting that psychological projection is a common defense mechanism, and it can be hard for a person to recognize when they are projecting their own feelings. However, when it leads to hate, it can result in harmful and unjust treatment of others. Therefore, it's important to recognize and challenge projection-based hate and strive for self-awareness, empathy, and understanding towards all groups. Number 6. Prejudice and stereotypes. Prejudice and stereotypes are another potential source of hate. Prejudice refers to an unjustified negative attitude or belief towards a certain group or individual, while stereotypes are oversimplified and often untrue generalizations about a certain group or individual. When combined, prejudice and stereotypes can lead to hate. For example, if someone holds a prejudiced belief that a certain group is inferior or dangerous, they may develop feelings of hate towards that group. Similarly, if someone relies on stereotypes to make assumptions about a group or individual, they may develop feelings of hate towards that group or individual. It's worth noting that prejudice and stereotypes can be learned and reinforced through different sources, such as the media, family, and education, and can be hard to recognize and challenge. However, when they lead to hate, they can result in harmful and unjust treatment of others. Therefore, it's important to recognize and challenge prejudice and stereotypes and strive for empathy and understanding towards all groups. Number 7. Cognitive biases. Cognitive biases are systematic patterns of thought or decision-making that can lead to distorted judgments and perceptions. These biases can play a role in the psychological sources of hate. For example, the confirmation bias, which is the tendency to seek out and interpret information in a way that confirms one's existing beliefs, can lead to the reinforcement of prejudiced and discriminatory attitudes. This can happen because individuals who hold prejudiced beliefs may selectively attend to information that confirms their beliefs, while ignoring information that contradicts them. The fundamental attribution error, which is the tendency to overestimate dispositional explanations for behavior and underestimate situational explanations, can also contribute to hate. This can happen because individuals who hold prejudiced beliefs may attribute negative behaviors of a group or individual to their inherent characteristics rather than to their circumstances, which can lead to a dehumanization of the targeted group or individual, and ultimately to hate. The outgroup bias, which is the tendency to favor one's own group over other groups, can also play a role in hate. This can happen because individuals who identify with a particular group may view members of other groups as inferior or threatening, and may develop feelings of hostility and hatred towards them. In conclusion, the psychological sources of hate are complex and multifaceted, and can include factors such as socialization, cognitive biases, and personality traits. Understanding these underlying sources can help us to better understand and address hate in our society. It's important to recognize that hate is not an inherent trait, but rather a learned behavior that can be unlearned. By being aware of our own biases and prejudices, and by actively working to promote empathy and understanding, we can all play a role in reducing hate and promoting a more inclusive and equitable society. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you find the information in this video useful, hit that like button and share it with your friends. And also, don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this one.